Hey everyone, what's up? My name is David Apuzzo and I'm here with
Russ, Lyman.
And this is 8-Bit Geekdom Podcast, episode number 1. First episode. It's nice to have you.
Thanks for coming.
Alright, so this podcast is very new, and what we're going to try to do is talk about some video games and comic books and toys and everything that's, that we love.
Pretty much whatever's on the Facebook page, anything retro.
Yeah, you can check us out. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at 8-Bit Geekdom. And I guess we'll get right into it. Today is Halloween. I know you're probably going to listen to this after Halloween. So we've been going to the game store and getting some stuff. I know last week we went to Congo.
Yep, Congo happened at Retro Game Plus down in Orange. Kind of like a swap meet that happens bi-monthly. And they let you bring down a box of games or whatever you want to trade with other people in the store. And you can sell stuff or just do straight-up trades. Pretty fun. And it was a Halloween-themed Congo, so people dressed up in costume. Really cool.
Did you pick anything up?
No. I was going to pick up a box copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula for the NES.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to spend $30 on it. So I just had passed. I sold a few of my games for like $10.
Do you have Dracula?
I know. I never played it. I only played it on the Sega CD, and it was pretty bad.
It's a good game, right? It's my fiance's favorite.
It looked awesome from the back of the box, and I was like, well, I had just picked up Bayonetta 2, so I dropped $60 on that, so I didn't want to spend another $30 on another game. So
I'm pretty sure it's a platformer.
Yeah, that's what it looked like from the back of the box art.
Yep. I haven't played it in a while, but I remember there's a lot of little tricks to it, and I know that my fiance Becky, she was really into it, and she knows more about it than I do. I never even knew that it was a game.
Right.
Like she told me that, I used to have Dracula growing up, and I was like, Castlevania,
right?
And so I never put two and two together, and then she finally found it at her parents' house, and I saw it, and I was like, okay. So you were right. I was wrong. But cool. Well, I picked up a few things. I got a load actually, like of good stuff from all NES games. Picked up Burger Time, which I've been looking for a really long time.
Classic title, yeah.
Yeah, I got a really good deal on that. What else did I get? Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh yeah, finally. Yeah, you've been
finally.
talking about that.
I've been talking about that for months now.
Ernie hooked you up.
Yep. And then thank you, Ernie. I appreciate it. It went to a very good home. And I picked up Friday the 13th.
Okay.
With keeping the Halloween theme. And let's see, what else did I pick up? There was quite a bit. Bubble Bobble, finally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking for that forever, and then finally found a cart. I'm a really big fan of getting really good cartridges. Yeah, like if I'm going to get a game and I'm going to spend a little bit on it. I mean, I don't spend much, but for what I do spend, I want to make sure that it's a good cart and I can have it for I don't want to have anything torn, or I just like things pristine condition.
Right.
So I picked up Bubble Bobble. I've come across that so many times, but I've never really found one that really stuck out to me. So
some people grab some games and they can always do, they'll call it a label upgrade, a box upgrade, where they find it at a good deal, they'll pick it up and they're like, well, I could always get another copy and then sell or trade this one off. But some people are just like, I'd rather buy the best copy the first time.
Do you know of where do you go and get your labels?
Well, when I say like label upgrade, I would mean like you would come across another Bubble Bobble that has a nicer label.
Oh,
so then buy that one.
Okay. And then replace your existing one.
Yeah, and then you're like, this one's torn. Well, I can use that as trade bait.
Well, I think you do have a place where you can get extra labels.
I mean, I myself can print some labels. I just use full sticker paper. It's like an 8x11 sticker sheet.
So you make your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I do that just for certain games. But a real thing that people get into is like when you replace a label, I always put on the label, reprint label somewhere. Just so it says it on it so no one can say anything down the road where whether I sell the game or it changes hands somehow and someone else gets it, they're like, it says reprint label on here. So
okay. Trying to think of what else I got from that from the Congo.
Well, I know I think you picked up didn't you pick up some turtle things?
I picked up a couple of turtle figures for anyone that knows me or doesn't know me for that matter, listening to this podcast for the first time. I am a huge Ninja Turtle fan, and I have an extensive collection of toys, comics, the video games. I have them all boxed.
Well, I would say, why don't you say a little bit about yourself other than what you do with comics and stuff?
Well, I mean, I'll be the first to admit as well. It's like I'm into comics. I'm into some of the stories, but I'm not somebody that goes and reads every single thing. I don't know all the backstories. I kind of got more into it within the past couple years. Mm-hmm. So I kind of slowly am working my way into some storylines and things like that. I am a big Turtles fan, like I said, though. I've been collecting those comics for going back and picking up a lot of the issues over the past couple years. I think I'm only 5 or 6 away from a complete Mirage series, which is the original comics. Mm-hmm. Done by Eastman and Laird, dating back, in the 80s. All of those were in black and white, which some people may not know. But, so I've been collecting those. I think I might be like 10 or 11 away from the complete Archie series.
Okay.
I'm missing a few of the new series still because I started getting into them a little bit, I think maybe around issue 9 or 10. So I'm missing, the first 10 issues.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that. But yeah, all the toys. I got some sealed toys, and I collect a lot of toys.
So what other toys do you get besides Turtles?
Besides Turtles, I'm starting to get into those Funko Pop, the vinyl figures.
Vinyl figures, yeah.
Yep. What I like about them is I used to be into a lot of the Kid Robot vinyl toys. I don't know if you're familiar with those. No. But there were these little 3-inch toys called Dunnies. I actually have a glass case in my house of a lot of the more expensive ones that have gone up in value. But for the most part, those are custom toys that are designed by different artists, and then they release them into a blind box series.
Okay.
And I think that is kind of, in my mind, the originator of those blind box toys. I know Funko Pop came out with them. They do the mystery minis.
Yeah.
So they have the Turtles. They just came out with the sci-fi. They have the horror figures. But also now that that they have those pop vinyl figures, really kind of escalated them to the next level. And now those have taken over because what the difference is between, say, like the Kid Robot toys as opposed to the Funko toys is they have licensed characters now.
Right. That's what people look for.
Right. So you can get
you
can get the Turtles, you can get the Freddy Krueger, the Jason, you can
Guardians
get Guardians of the Galaxy, all the comic books, Captain America, Batman. They now also make the vehicles. So I know we were looking at the DeLorean.
Yeah.
They came out with the DeLorean with Marty McFly, and so I've been getting into those a little bit. I have a little bit of a collection going. The good thing about those is I just get the characters that I'm interested in. I'm not a collector that goes out and buys every single one.
Right.
I mean, that's just too expensive. They're $10
also
a pop.
Have space too for them all.
Right. They're about $10 a pop, and there's hundreds of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton that I like, but I'm not going to buy them all.
No. It's not like Pokemon.
I only bought 2. I bought Marty and Doc Brown.
And your Doc Brown is an exclusive one, isn't it?
Yeah, we got that at the Bridgeport Comic Con.
Yep.
It's like a glow-in-the-dark version.
Nice.
I'll just take a quick moment to tell the listeners about myself. I work at a video game store. It's Retro Games Plus in Orange. I also drive a hooked-up Mario car, the Mario Kart. It's a Scion XA, and I put like a vinyl down the side of Mario throwing a fireball, and the inside is all done up. I got the Nintendo system in the dashboard. It's like fiberglass in there. I took it to shows and kind of showed off. So I have a background in modding things, so to say, making things your own. So I use that towards my advantage to mod systems. I paint them, custom controllers. Pretty much, if you can make it, I can make it. I've done props before. It's pretty sweet. So me working at the game store, I kind of have a good gaming background. I'm collecting for the NES, Wii U, pretty much all the Nintendo platforms, but I also have PlayStation 1 and 2. I don't have a PlayStation 3, so I'm not too much of a new gamer, so to say, with the new systems. I don't have a PlayStation 3. I don't have an Xbox at all or a 360. It just doesn't interest me. I've always been a Nintendo fan, so I just recently got the Wii U. I'll probably eventually get a PlayStation 3 if I find it for a good deal. But
I mean, the PlayStation 3 just solely for the Blu-ray player.
Right, that would be my niche to get it. Like, I don't have a Blu-ray player. Might as well get a system that does Blu-rays. So it would be a 2-in-1.
Now, was there any reason why you never got a PS3? Or you
said
you had a PS2, so...
Yeah, I had gotten the PS2. I'm not sure when the 3 came out, but I know I was playing the Wii then, and it probably just wasn't cost-effective for me to buy so many multiple systems, and I always enjoyed all the Nintendo games more. I never really played online games, and I know that's really big with the new-gen gamers. A lot of people playing the Call of Duties and all that. It's just I have more nostalgia for the older games, and there's so many games I haven't played for the older systems that I'm still kind of tied up in there. And it's like, well, I'll get to the newer systems eventually, and by that time, they'll be reduced in price drastically.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Did the original Wii, did that come out after the PS3?
I can't remember the exact date. I remember I got it on launch, not launch, but I got it Black Friday. I waited out for the Wii. Trying to remember.
That was big. That was big. Like, I remember calling up Circuit City.
Yeah.
And I randomly called them. I think it might have been a Black Friday. And I remember I was with Becky at my parents' house, and I called up Circuit City, and I said, "Hey, do you guys have any Wiis in stock?" And I was like, so nobody had it.
Yeah.
And so randomly, Becky and I went out to do our shopping. We did go to Target and all those stores looking for gifts. And then randomly we were just like, you know what? No one's gonna have it, but let's go stop in Circuit City real quick, and what the hell? We'll give it a shot. Yeah. So we walked in, and there's like 4 of them sitting right on the counter, like right behind the counter. So that's when we bought it, and then we went home. And the only thing that I just to this day that I don't get, and this is why I think, and I'm trying to remember if the PS3 had come out before the Wii, because I vaguely remember having the PS3 and then me not understanding why the Wii didn't have an HDMI port.
Oh, okay.
For HD.
Yeah.
The Wii U now does have HDMI.
Yeah. I remember buying for my Wii, they have component cables, so you get a little bit better signal with the components.
Yeah.
But other than that, unless if you've got like one of those third-party like upscaler HDMI boxes.
But even then, the upscalers they don't help that much.
Right.
I mean, it's only going to be as good as the graphics that are in the system itself. Right. So, but yeah, so go ahead. I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I just ended up camping out at Best Buy to pick up the Wii.
And that was a Black Friday?
Yeah. I waited all night.
So how long was the line for that?
I got there Thursday at maybe 7 o'clock at night.
Oh, man.
And there was like 4 people maybe there.
So you went on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I finished eating, and I had gone back to my mom's, and I was like, I'm going to go wait out at Best Buy. Because we swung by Best Buy on the way home, and there was a sign, yes, we're getting 13 Wiis in, and I saw some people there already. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go get my chair, blanket, all this jazz.
So you stayed in overnight to
get the so I didn't know how it works. I went right up to the door and put my chair, and the people came out, and they were like, oh, you can't do that. Like, we were already here. Like, the line starts, like, here, so we're lining up here. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was about 3rd or 4th in line.
Okay.
And I was just waiting out, and it was, like, freezing. And the people were nice. They're like, if you want, you could go in your car to warm up some, and we'll hold your spot in line. And I was like, no. I have to stay out. I have to man up and get my Wii. And we waited. They came out at 6 a.m. and gave us tickets. And they said, you can't leave the line. We're going to be open at it was like 9 or something. It was like a few more hours you had to wait. And then you would get it. And one guy in line ended up selling his ticket to a lady for $50 because he was like, I'm just going to get it and resell it.
So when So what time did they open the doors?
I forget. It was like 9 or
In the morning.
Yeah, because they came out really early, but it was still we had to wait like 2 hours or something.
Were they doing any special bundles or anything like that with the system? Was it the system launch?
No, I think it had already come out.
Oh, okay.
So it was just whatever was there. So I ended up picking up the Wii. I got Twilight Princess, and I think one of the Mario games, and then like an extra controller.
The thing about the Wii, the original Wii, is I hated, and I still hate to this day, the nunchucks. I don't like them. I can't control it the way I want to control it.
Yeah.
I like having my two hands on one controller.
Yeah.
And being stationary. Like, I don't want to be moving my arms around and shaking things, going crazy. Like, so whenever I would buy a Wii game,
yeah.
I would make sure I looked at the back and made sure that it was a game that can either use the classic controller or one of the nunchucks.
Or one of the regular Wiimotes.
One of the Wiimotes. But, so I think to this day, I don't own any games that use a nunchuck because of that reason. So like Twilight Princess, didn't want anything to do with it. I'm just not into that kind of interaction stuff. You know, like the Wii Sports is awesome.
Right.
You know, you just got the joystick or not the joystick, but the Wiimote, and
playing
you're playing the baseball, the tennis. But then like the new Super Mario Brothers, when that got launched, I was praying that it didn't use the nunchucks. And luckily, it used the Wiimote as a regular controller. Yeah, but but you would have to turn the controller sideways to kind of point at stuff with the sensor.
Yeah.
So that was okay, but I was not a fan of the nunchucks, and I don't know. It kind of reminds me of, like, you remember the game like Bop It.
Yeah,
like you always have to do these crazy things, and then you kind of get confused.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it a lot with the Resident Evil rail shooters because it had. I used the gun attachment for the Wiimote, so you would put it in there, and then you had the nunchuck, and that was your knife. So you would act out the stabbing action.
Well, okay, I mean, I can understand that, but when it comes to like using one as walking around, and then you have to, aim and shoot, with the joypad or joystick, whatever you want to call it, on the actual nunchuck part. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I just like, I'm old school when it comes to, I like the NES controller. I like the Super Nintendo controller. I'm a big fan of the Sega Genesis controller. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe just growing up with that,
So I'm going to point out, too, that it's kind of funny if you look at the nunchuck, it's pretty much the middle of the N64 controller.
Right. It is.
It just broke off the end.
It broke off the end, right.
Throw cord on it.
Right. And then but that's the other thing, too, is on the Wiimote, with the nunchuck, you had the nunchuck, but on the Wiimote, I mean, did you use the 1 and 2 button or any of that stuff? Because of the way you'd have to hold it with your right hand?
It depends on the game. Like on some of the games.
Because to me, that would feel awkward, like going down and then hitting the 1 and 2 because it's not at the top.
I think they were just kind of like an inventory item button. You would switch out a weapon.
Yeah. I was just never a fan. But now, I mean, what do you think of the Wii U in comparison?
A lot of people aren't liking the big tablet gamepad. I think it fits in the hand fine. My only gripe with it is the battery life dies after a while if you're playing.
Well, yeah, we were having this conversation about, we were watching a documentary on Netflix, and it shows it on the screen, as well as your television. And
there's no option to shut it off.
There's no option to shut it off, so your battery.
I want to save battery life, but I can't.
Right, your battery's going to die, and unless you put it on the charger. Mm-hmm. But it's useless. Yeah. Unless you're going to, there should be an option to shut it off,
or at least dim the screen,
or dim
like
the screen.
Phone.
Yeah, or maybe have a timeout or something. But yeah, that's the biggest thing because we were actually playing. I think it was the
Hyrule Warriors.
Hyrule Warriors, and we were playing that for so long, and then we threw the documentary on, and then the gamepad shut down.
Yeah.
Because we were playing for so long, and when you play the 2-player co-op on the Zelda, player 1's on the screen, and then player 2's on the television.
Yeah.
But now is Hyrule Warriors more than a 2-player game?
I don't think it can be now.
Because I was just thinking about that.
It has online capability, but I think it's only 2.
Because if it's more than 2-player, you can't hook up more than one.
Yeah,
game
like
pad.
If you have 4 people over your house, you would not be able to play 4 players.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
I wonder what that's all about.
Might as well talk about other control. We're on the controller topic.
Oh yeah, let's talk about
controllers.
Just
tuning in, controllers.
If they're just tuning in, well, they had to turn it on from the beginning.
If they were zoning out, and now you're back with us, controllers.
All right, so let's talk about controllers then. So, what's your favorite controller?
Probably the Super Nintendo controller.
Why is that?
I mean, it didn't overcomplicate things too many. It added just enough buttons. You had the nice top trigger buttons.
Now, I think is that considered the first controller that had those additional buttons on the top?
I think so. I can't remember any of the other systems.
I know Sega Genesis was out at the same time, and they definitely just had the 3 buttons on the front,
right?
And the game, the actual, arrow pad or whatever. What do you call it? D-pad. D-pad, and then the start button.
Yeah.
It didn't even have a select button. It just had a start button.
I'm a big fan of the D-pad. I never, if I have a choice between using the analog stick or the D-pad, I usually always go for the D-pad.
That's a very good point, because playing the new Wii U with the Super Mario Brothers, I was very nervous getting the Wii U because I was like, I didn't want it to be similar to the Wii with the controlling.
Okay.
Because I don't like the joysticks.
Yeah.
So when I got the Mario, I prayed that it used the D-pad.
Yeah.
And luckily it did. So I played that entire game with the D-pad. But I didn't like playing it on the gamepad. So I bought the Pro controller. And the Pro controller is so comfortable. I know you said that you don't have it yet.
Right, I'm still looking to pick one up. We had one at the game store for a while, but
have you used it?
Just here. I think you let me play. We were playing Mario Kart 8 with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels good, and it's Bluetooth, so it's wireless, and you get a longer battery life because you don't have that screen on it. So.
And it looks like I'm looking at it right now. It has 2 joysticks. Let me go grab it real quick.
Yeah.
Keep them entertained.
So pretty much, this is Nintendo's, I guess, newest controller. I guess the Pro controller. They had something similar for the Wii, which was it called the Pro controller for the Wii? I can't remember.
No, I think it's just called the Classic controller.
I think there's the Classic, it's very similar in shape and style. Except it wasn't wireless. You had to plug it into the Wii remote.
It was kind of like the size of... it was flat, though. So it was more like the size of a Super Nintendo controller.
Yeah.
So I think...
Or even like a smaller Xbox controller. And
it was a little bit more rounded, like on the ends. But this one fits really nice in your hand. It's got the 2 joysticks, the D-pad, the home button, the power... I mean, it works just like the
and it's got the dual trigger buttons up top.
Yep. And it's just super comfortable. So, I don't know. Obviously I'm pretty biased in the fact that I, grew up with NES.
Yeah.
So, a huge fan of the original NES controller. I did...
Plain and simple. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why I also didn't like the Wiimote and the nunchuck is because... the Wiimote wasn't bad, but my problem was when you turned it sideways to play it as a regular controller.
Yeah,
it was just this narrow.
Thin, yeah,
it was like playing a video game with like an iPod Nano.
Well, it would have been double-edged sword with that. Whereas if they made it a little bit thicker, it would have been nicer to hold horizontally. But then when you turned it to play vertically, it would have been too thick to hold.
Oh yeah, you mean it would feel like you're holding an iPhone? It's the same thing. Like it's just like if you're holding your phone now, it'd be the same.
Yeah.
Or a remote control for your TV. They're wide and, but I don't know, but the NES controller. But I really do to this day really enjoy the Sega Genesis controller.
Yep. Now, the 6-button one or the 3-button one?
The 3-button one.
Okay.
The original.
The little boomerang C shape there.
Yeah. See, now growing up, I never had Super Nintendo.
Okay.
I was at that age where, I had some of the systems a little later in my childhood, so we didn't get a Nintendo until 90 or 91. So when I was starting to get a job, working at I used to work at Toys R Us and worked at Staples for a while.
Okay.
But when I was able to buy something with my own money, I went out and I bought the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
And so, so my neighbor growing up, he had the Super Nintendo. So I would go over there and play the Super Nintendo.
It's almost vice versa. For when I was growing up, my neighbor had the Sega Genesis.
Okay. Now, you had Super Nintendo?
I can't remember if it was around the same time. I definitely had the NES then, but I got the Super Nintendo before I bought a Sega.
Okay. So I had the Sega Genesis, and then I would go over there to play the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And that's when I got introduced to, that controller. And I don't know. I really enjoyed the Sega Genesis. And when I was at that age, I thought, in my mind, I really, because of my enjoyment of the Sega Genesis, I thought it was a better system.
Okay.
Now, today, I've kind of switched gears a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, I still really like the Sega Genesis, but I'm starting to get a little bit more into the Super Nintendo, finding all the older games that I used to play. And, I don't have a huge Super Nintendo collection because I wasn't exposed to that growing up.
Right.
But I'm starting to slowly discover some games. And, one game in particular that I used to play nonstop over there was A Link to the Past.
Okay.
And that, in my mind, is my favorite Zelda game.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I would say as far as controllers go,
what would you say is your least favorite controller?
Well, it's got to be the nunchuck.
Got to be the nunchuck.
It's got to be the nunchuck.
Just the nunchuck part of the Wii.
Right, exactly. I don't like the joysticks.
Okay.
Even I will say this though, I did have the PlayStation 2. I have the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
And they pretty much use the same controller. The only difference is the PlayStation 3 is wireless, and the PlayStation 2 had a cord that went to the system.
There wasn't much.
But they didn't upgrade the controller at all.
Right, it was still same button layout and everything.
Right, same size, everything.
Yeah.
But I did not mind using the joystick on the PlayStation 3.
Right, the little analog stick.
And I think or the PlayStation 2 for that matter. I think it's because it was still in my hand.
Yeah.
Just with the two hands close together, and then I had control over that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why. I think it's separating it. Your hands go in all different directions. I think that's where it's too confusing.
Okay.
In my mind, anyway.
Fair enough. I would say my least favorite controller, the Dreamcast controller.
See, I never played Dreamcast.
It just was, I don't know, it's bulky.
It looked like a spaceship.
It did. And then I only just recently found out from watching Ricky on Retro Liberty, they were doing something on the Grid Gaming, because the cord on the Dreamcast controller comes out like the bottom towards you. Instead of going towards the system.
Okay.
And you have to wrap it around the controller, and there's a little divot in the back of the controller that you pop the cord into, that it holds it there.
So the Dreamcast wasn't wireless either?
No.
Okay.
The only reason I know why they did the cord coming out the bottom was because they had to have space to put the VMU cards on the top of the controller for your saving and all that, I guess.
Well, now, what did you think about, one system that I never got into was N64.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, I just didn't like the graphics. I didn't enjoy the games. But again, that's also the system that introduced the joystick.
Right.
I don't like the joysticks. Just that one thumb joystick.
Right.
So I think that's another reason why I never got into...
They're definitely...
Because then you had to turn the controller in order to use the joystick, because it would be awkward if you were... doing one of those things where, you keep your arms straight and you have to reach down. But So you had to turn the controller a little bit in order to use that. Now, did you play a lot of N64?
Growing up, probably the only thing we played was like GoldenEye. I played Ocarina of Time and Mario 64. I didn't get too big into the N64 though. I have to say it's my least favorite Nintendo system and the console that I have the least amount of games for.
For the N64, the games that you played, did they all use the joystick? Because my friend had the N64.
Yeah.
And I would go over there and I would just watch them play because I didn't want to have anything to do with that controller.
Yeah.
But I vaguely remember that. I don't remember one game that actually used the D-pad.
Right. I mean, trying to think, like most of the games, it's not really side-scrolling. It's more of you're in an open world, so I could see using the analog stick is easier to get that roundabout like movement. Whereas if you're playing a platformer like a regular Mario game, like a Nintendo, you would want to use the D-pad instead because you have just better accuracy, I think. That's why, yeah, I never really got too big into the N64. I'm more of a 2D playing person rather than open world like that. Wow. I mean, it expanded it, and it's like you could go so much more places. Yeah, I enjoyed it at the time, but I try to play some of the games now, and it's just like, Like I picked up Majora's Mask, and I still yet to play it. I think I picked it up almost a year ago, and everyone's like, "You got to play it." And I'm like,
"No, I've never played it." So is that an open world as well?
I mean, not like open world like Skyrim or anything like that, but it's like you're not going left to right. It's like, okay, figure out where this temple is and go there.
So, so kind of like the original NES Zelda.
Yeah, it's hard to say how it compares with that. Where it's the way I look at that, it's a lot smaller world that you're going through because you're split up into screens since it's top down over.
Okay,
I only got 6 screens across by 9 screens down or whatever.
Oh, okay.
You know what you're saying with that. Whereas this is just like, okay, you could go all the way in these woods and hang out in these woods forever, but you're supposed to be in the mountain playing this or whatever. So, I mean, it's good. Maybe it said like if you just have just that game and you want to tackle that game for a couple weeks or a month, it definitely keep you occupied. But whereas I'm gaming now, I don't have that much time to allow to sink into some games.
Right, and that's another argument, and maybe that's another topic we should bring up is, growing up, we used to play all these games, and we used to spend hours on these games, which nowadays, you look back at the NES games, and you could beat them literally within a half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever the case may be. But when we were little and playing these games, or I should say younger, we would spend hours on these games.
Yeah.
I was watching videos online where people were beating Super Mario Brothers in 4 minutes. And, we would play that game for hours and, we never beat it.
Yeah.
And I think, so when you start playing these games today and they're like, you get 80 hours into it or 90 hours into it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I don't want to play a game for that long. I want to have that instant gratification of, let's play it for a half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's why I never really got into a lot of the newer games so much because, I don't know, maybe I have ADD and I just have,
right.
I don't have enough attention to play a game for 3 hours anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, it turned me off from a lot of playing RPGs nowadays just because I don't have the time to sink into them. I picked up Bravely Default on the 3DS. Everyone was raving about this game, saying it's fantastic. It's a great RPG. It's kind of like a Super Nintendo vibe. I said, okay, I'll pick it up. And I put about 40 hours into it. Mm-hmm. And I'm nowhere near done beating it. And I'm like, I just don't have the time to put any more into it. Maybe I'll eventually get back to it. But I was like, there's other games I want to play. I can't just be playing all... if you're a kid and your mom bought you a game and that's your game, that's all you have, and you can't get anything else, It's perfect. But us as adults, we have our own income and we can buy whatever games we want or sell and trade them and stuff like that. It's easier, I guess, to say, okay, I'm giving up. I'm going to get another game.
To be 40 hours into that game, how far along are you? How much longer do you have?
It's hard to say because there's I like when too on some of the games they show you 40% complete, 60%. So you're
this one doesn't do that.
Yeah. So I'm like, there's so many side quests you can do.
And there's no more Nintendo Power, so we can't, look up guides. I mean, yeah, we have the internet, but I mean, Nintendo Power, that was the place to go when you wanted to get maps and all that stuff. So I do miss that. But
I say we'll save that topic for
another
podcast.
Yeah, because I got a lot of stuff on the Nintendo Powers. Those were fun, and then all the guides that came with them.
Yeah. Let's say you want to jump into. We'll finish up our gaming topics and then move on to maybe some toys or something aspect of that.
So we were talking about this. We had an idea to do maybe a top 5 each of our podcasts.
Yeah.
And for this one, we are going to keep it game related. In the future, maybe not so much. Maybe we'll do some toys. We'll do some comics. I don't know how deep into comics you get. I know you had some comics growing up.
Yeah. Well, this was a good contrast this way for viewers who listen. Like they know David's the big comic guy, and Russ isn't into that many comics, so I'm more of a regular consumer when it comes to that aspect.
I just have a lot of different little collections, So I have a lot of toys. I have a lot of games. And then comics is something new, and So yeah, let's dive into this top 5, and I'll let you go ahead and give a little preface of this.
Our top 5 Nintendo games that are based off of a movie. So they got a movie license. Let's make a game and see if it turned out good.
So what should we do? Should we do this maybe one for one? Or
We'll start from number 5. I'll say mine and you say yours.
So see, I don't know about mine being in order, but I'll do my best. So I'll let you go first then.
All right. So my number 5 was Jaws.
Jaws. Okay.
Now, growing up playing that game, I didn't like it as much because I had no idea what to do.
Okay.
I was just dying, and I'm like, where do I go? But after watching videos nowadays and really getting the game, it's enjoyable. I could probably beat it in about 10 minutes now.
See, now what's really interesting about Jaws, though, Jaws is on my list as well. So, spoiler alert, mine's on the top 5. Mine is going to be a little higher up, though.
Oh, okay.
Growing up, me and my brother, I have very fond memories of me and my brother playing Jaws. I would constantly Jaws was kind of more of my brother's game.
Yeah.
Like he got it as a gift, and so it was kind of like we both played it, but it was always Anthony's going to play Jaws.
Okay.
So we're gonna. So I would always sit there and I would watch him play, and we knew what to do. Like we had an idea. We knew that we had to go from port to power up, and then get into the water and shoot and get all the shells to trade in to power up all the way until you got to Jaws.
Yeah, so you're strong enough to kill him.
So I know I've done some research online, and I think Jaws is on a lot of people's worst games of the system.
Yeah, I mean, people are very quick to hate games because it's cool, or they're like, I hate it because I hate it. And
I think they were complaining about the fact that a lot of people, like you said you didn't know what to do.
I'm sure if you looked in the manual, it probably explained it, but I didn't have a manual with the game.
So fair enough. So Jaws is definitely on my list because I have so many memories of it.
Yeah.
And those are the memories that I, so much that when I got older, I think it was maybe sometime earlier this year, I picked up Jaws boxed.
Okay.
Like I had my original Jaws, or I should say my brother's. Now that we all have separate houses, I've kind of gotten all the Nintendo games.
Okay.
But then I've also built on it. So I play the Nintendo games, and so I was able to go out and find
just a loose box,
complete in box. No, well, I got another game too, just so I can keep it all together. And that's the reason why I got it. Not because of, the movie or, the game itself. But, I had that growing up, and I have a lot of memories, and that's why I wanted it complete again. So, well, I mean, I said Jaws too, so let's go back to you then.
Okay, so the next one I got on my list.
And don't pick another one that I have.
It's gonna be, probably. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, jeez.
I only recently got this, I think maybe last year or the year before. I never played it growing up at all. Never knew it came out.
What made you play it?
I heard a lot of good things about it. It's like a platformer. I'm really into platformers, and I said, yeah, definitely check it out. It's like a cool horror movie that I enjoy. Maybe it'll be a fun game, and it's not bad.
Well, I know that was the that's one of the games you could play the 4 players.
That's right, yeah, and I never got to yet.
Which is funny because I was thinking about this, and if we all had bucket lists, I think that would be on Russ's list.
It would remind me, like, I remember the first time we played Super Mario, like the new Super Mario Brothers on the Wii, and I had 3 of my friends come over, and we were all playing and like jumping on each other and getting each other killed, and we had like just a blast. I can imagine like what it was like back in the day when Nightmare came out, and you're like, yeah, 3 other people can play, like, let's do it, and just imagine.
You have all the Dream Warriors.
Yeah. So that was on my list.
Well, Nightmare on Elm Street is on my list, unfortunately.
Okay. Maybe not the same order.
Not the same order. But like you, I just kind of got into it through you.
Okay.
I mean, I knew that it existed, but I had actually never played it before the time you brought it here.
Yeah.
And then we played it together. And it was really cool. And that's what made me want to get it because, you know, like you said, it's a platformer.
Yeah.
I love the platforms. I love the side-scrolling games. And just having, like, little tasks to do, like collecting the bones and, you know, going from the day to the dream
dream
sequence.
world, yeah, and all that. And you get the different abilities as the Dream Warriors.
Now, what I did not know, though, about that game until I was watching a video of a review of it, is that you have the ability to switch to any character.
Yeah, you didn't know that. You get little icons.
I didn't know that you could switch to them.
Only in the dream world.
Oh, yeah. But yeah. I thought that you would get, maybe because I didn't get that deep into it that time we were playing, and I hadn't owned it until, you know, this past weekend.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that once you get into that dream sequence that you can switch to any of those other characters. I think there's, 3 other ones?
Well, you have to get their icon while you're in one of the Freddy stages. It'll show like a running one is like one of the warriors, and then one's like a ninja star or something like that. I think there's like a wizard. So until you get that icon, you can only choose that character. So you have to find all 3.
So if you find all 3,
then you can choose. You can
just
choose
swap all
out
3.
All
yeah. Okay.
So one of them throws like a spear. One of them's like a kicking ninja type guy.
Yeah. Now you haven't beaten it yet.
No, I never got to the last level. But I played it for a good few hours, a couple nights. You know, just getting better at it. And you're like, okay, but I have yet to beat it.
The thing about that game too is, and when I was watching the review, because I haven't gotten that far either, is you get towards the end and then you have to battle all the Freddys again.
Oh, okay.
So you have
boss rush, yeah.
So every single boss you have to beat. You have to beat like his glove.
Yeah.
The roaming head.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. So before you face Freddy.
Okay.
But then when you meet Freddy pops up throughout the game.
Yeah.
Apparently he's the same difficulty as he is throughout the whole
the other times.
Right, so he has the same patterns and everything. Yeah. So, hey, if you get to Freddy, the final Freddy, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good to go.
You had plenty of practice.
Yeah. So I'll let you go again since we have another one. Maybe this one. Maybe
this one I don't think is on your list.
All right, let's try it.
Willow.
That's not on my list.
The game Willow.
And it's not on my list because I'm not a fan of RPGs.
Now, back in the day when I got it, you know, I had a full weekend to play NES games, so I really enjoyed playing Willow. And it has a password system. So I could write my password down, and then next weekend go to the video store, rent the game, and put in my password and pick it right up where I left off.
Now, how many times did you rent it?
I can't remember. Well, I mean, I physically didn't. Like, my dad's paying for the rentals.
Because the rentals are $4 a pop.
I know, so...
You could have just bought the game.
Yeah. But it was a good time. I really enjoyed the music, and it's like magic. It's pretty much like an adventure RPG game. And the movie, I haven't seen it in a while, but I did enjoy the movie. And I thought it translated well to a video game.
I've never played Willow, the video game.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much like a Final Fantasy or even a Zelda type game.
See, I like Zelda, but then again, I didn't consider Zelda an RPG.
Yeah, well, with, it's Zelda, but then with Final Fantasy elements in it where you have experience. So when you fight an enemy, you would get experience.
See, and that's the thing. Final Fantasy never got into that either.
Yeah.
Never got into all the Final... Like, I'm just not an... I think because RPGs, you know, with all the power-ups, they're longer games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what didn't interest me.
Okay.
Even when I got the Wii, I wouldn't get games that were extended amounts of time.
Yeah.
I like the quick games. I like the mini games. I love mini games.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Wario's World and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or Wario's Moves, or I don't know, something weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think RPGs in general, I was just like the Super Mario RPG.
Oh, okay.
I'm just not into it. Although, to sidetrack just a little bit, I did get into that game Child of Light.
Oh, okay.
For Wii U. I downloaded that.
Yeah.
And that was fun. But I don't know if maybe it's because I'm older now, so I have a better understanding of it.
Maybe, yeah.
But I really enjoyed it because it's also like a platformer, but it's got that RPG element.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I enjoyed it. So I guess I can go now then.
There we go.
So again, so one of mine that is in my list is, and I don't know if it's in yours, but RoboCop.
Oh, okay. Nope, not on my list.
Okay, so I liked RoboCop because I think the main thing about RoboCop that I like is that it's a side scroller, a
Right.
platformer, that you go left to right, up and down, and
right. It's not a lot of roaming around.
Right, and it's just I guess you can call it a beat 'em up, but you're just shooting people.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about it. I think so RoboCop is definitely on my list, just for that reason.
It was hard R-rated movie translated to NES kids game.
Yes, yes, it was. Well, we were talking about that too, like just same thing with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
Because Nightmare on Elm Street was about a pedophile who
killed children
in their sleep, and then they made a video game out of it.
Yeah. So.
And the kid would go to sleep, and the kid would get attacked by R-rated movie. Jaws.
Yeah, I forgot Jaws is...
Jaws is an R-rated movie as well.
Yeah.
And, and what's interesting about Jaws being an R-rated movie is Jaws isn't even in the movie until 3/4 through the movie.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of, that element of it's coming.
Right.
And it just heightens your the fear.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, what else you got?
Let's see. Gremlins 2.
All right, Gremlins 2 is on my list as well. I think Gremlins 2 might have been...
They never made a Gremlins 1 video game.
Okay, Gremlins 2 is my my sixth spot.
Okay.
So, like, it didn't quite
honorable mention?
Yeah, my honorable mention. It didn't quite make my list, but...
We didn't specify that on our top 5. I guess there's honorable mentions.
Well, I named out 5 on my list, and then I was like, well, I have 6 here, so I'll just do an honorable mention.
Okay.
So there's a surprise.
But again, it's a pretty much a platformer from the top down view, and you get all cool little weapons. You pick up like a paper clip, you pick up a matchstick.
Yeah.
So you're shooting fire.
You just do the bow and arrow like in the movie.
Bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of jumping around.
We were talking about earlier that they didn't make a Gremlins 1.
Right. Yeah. They never released the Gremlins 1. It just started with Gremlins 2. I guess.
Why would they call it Gremlins 2 then?
Well, it's based on the sequel movie because it's taking place in the office building.
Right, I get that, but I mean, when you title a video game, I guess you could have just called it Gremlins: The New Batch. You didn't have to.
I don't know if there's a subtitle on there.
I mean, it could also. I mean, like you were talking about too, the licensing. So maybe it was licensed, so it had to be Gremlins 2. But yeah, no Gremlins 1.
But it's still a good game. Yeah, translate it well.
Yeah. All right, so let me get into another one of mine. Okay, so I know this game is going to be on a lot of people's... Oh my god, no, you don't have this in your list. You can't have this in this list because it's terrible. It's a terrible game. But again, it's in my list, so like it or not, is Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay.
Now, the thing that I liked about it is, first off, I love the movie. Okay. I'm a big Ghostbusters fan. But also, I have a lot of memories with that game. Okay. Most notably, driving around in the car, and then you pull off to the side and
get gas or whatever you do.
But then, one scene in the game always sticks out to me, and that's when you're going up the stairs. Okay. Because it was impossible. Because you got these ghosts coming from all directions, and it was physically impossible with the directions they were coming in to get through. Them, yeah. Unless you had the Game Genie, forget it. Yeah. I think that's as far as I got up to.
I
Okay. And I never owned it growing up. Yeah. I still don't own it. I still haven't found it to this day, but I would love to get a copy. But I've never played it with the Game Genie to actually get further.
Oh, okay.
So whenever we rented it, that's as far as we got. And then that was it. So
you almost needed like a turbo controller to get up the stairs because you have to tap the button to make the guys move.
Yes,
so it makes
absolutely.
it even harder. The endurance battle.
And then also with all the ghosts coming in, you got all these elements going on at once, and it was just, So Ghostbusters is on my list.
Okay.
What else we got? I think
we're up to the last one. I guess
we're up to. I guess you and I have the same. We might have the same number
one.
Number one.
Batman on the NES.
Yes. Batman. Go ahead. I'll let you talk about this.
Batman was a big fan, growing up. Loved the Tim Burton films. And it translated really well to an NES game.
Yes.
It had the same dark vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Beat 'em up. The mechanics were great. It kind of had that wall jump.
Yeah.
It was similar to like Ninja Gaiden.
Darkwing Duck.
All the cool gadgets you would get. Like the different bullets that would spread out to 3, or like the boomerang was in there.
Yeah.
It's just really fun. I could just remember listening to the music. It was
hard, though.
It's very hard. I never beat the game.
Yeah.
Still to this day, but and I'm super excited. In a few weeks, they're releasing the NECA figure that is Batman from the NES game. So he's like purpley blue, and he comes in a box, so it looks like the NES box game. So it's really sweet. They're going to be at Toys R Us, I think, in like a week or 2.
Yeah, now I wasn't introduced to Batman, the NES game, until, again, when I was more grown up.
Okay.
Actually, maybe even only a few years ago. And I think I saw a few reviews on it, and I tried it out, and it was just a great gameplay. I mean, the controls were great.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lose at that game, you can't blame the controls.
Right.
It's like Super Mario Brothers. Super Mario Brothers has the greatest gameplay in regards to control.
Tight controls, yeah.
Yeah.
You can move Mario wherever you want him to
Yeah,
go.
so like if you lose in Super Mario Brothers, it's on you. And I think the same thing goes with Batman. It's like it's on you because the controls are very tight.
Yeah.
So there's our top 5. So that sounds good.
Top 5 movie licensed NES.
And if you guys are listening and you want to,
leave your top 5 on our Facebook page.
Yep. We'll be posting this on our Facebook page, and hopefully have it on iTunes.
Yeah.
So go to our Facebook page. We'll make a post about it, and then tell us your top 5. I guess movie licensed games. Let us know what you think.
There's still quite a few that we didn't mention. Maybe just to rapid fire through them, but some
let's
movie licensed games for the Nintendo. You got Addams Family. You got
Star Wars.
Beetlejuice did come out.
Yeah. You put me on the spot. Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Well, 1. There's Back to the Future 1, and then there's Back to the Future 2 and 3 in one game.
Die Hard. Was a good one.
So many.
Little Mermaid.
Indiana Jones. Yep. Was there any other Disney movies?
I think that was the only one on the NES.
Because a lot of them came out
on the Super Nintendo.
More Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
Because we were having a conversation before about, if we were to choose games from later generations, that Aladdin and Lion King would definitely be in my top from Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
So I know that, and I don't know if this one counts. It's Disney branded, so I don't know if it's not a movie, but Adventures in the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
Was a great game. It was like 5 or 6 mini games.
Yeah.
And you had to you had to go into the Haunted Mansion, Thunder Mountain, Railroad.
Yeah.
I forgot what else there was. Space Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah, so you had to go and beat all these mini games to unlock the key, or I don't really remember, but yeah, that was a great one. I don't know what else is there.
I can't think off the spot, but I know there's
quite a few.
There's quite a few left.
Google it. Just figure it out.
Perfect.
All right, so let's transition a little bit into
toys.
Toys, I guess.
Yeah. I did bring up with toys. If you know me, I'm trying to collect a lot of the NECA figures that they're releasing.
Yeah.
They have a series where it's it's a figure, but it's based on the Nintendo game that it was
Yeah.
in. So I have the Freddy one, and it comes in a box that looks like the Nintendo box, and you open it up, and it has Freddy in there, and then it has like an 8-bit background that he's standing against. I also picked up the RoboCop. I'm on the eye looking for the Jason. The Jason was a Comic-Con exclusive from San Diego.
Oh, it was.
So he's going on eBay anywhere from like $80 to $100. So I can't find him I don't want to spend that much on a figure.
So that was an exclusive then.
Yeah, so that's why.
Was there a limited run of that one?
Probably, yeah. And they also re-released them in a blister pack, but the same look, and that sold out fast.
Oh yeah, speaking of those figures, when I was at Comic-Con, they had the reaction figures.
They did, yes.
From those are made by Funko as well.
Okay, and they're made to look like the old Star Wars from the 70s.
Same packaging, same everything. Yep.
Card backing and the small.
So
scale.
at the New York Comic-Con, they had the exclusive. I believe it was.
It was Freddy and Jason.
But I believe it was. I'm trying to remember what booth it was at. I think it was at the Funko booth.
Okay.
I remember going. You couldn't go because you had to work that weekend, but I do remember going to that booth and not realizing that you needed to get a ticket to get in line to purchase these toys.
Yeah.
So at that booth, they had the Freddy, the Jason, and they were modeled after the 8-bit NES games.
Yeah.
They do make a Freddy and Jason normal, figure in the Reaction series.
Okay.
But this one was just exclusive 8-bit models. But they also had a exclusive Ghostbusters Ecto-1 with Winston. It was an Ecto-1 car with Winston inside. Mm-hmm. But what made it different from the other one that's in the store is it has like slime on it.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I wanted. So they had them both, all these 3 figures at the Funko booth. And so when I showed up, I was like, hey, I went up to the guy. I said, hey, can I get these? And he said, oh, you got to go and get a ticket. So I said, oh, okay. So I went over to the line. The line was, there had to be like at least 75 to 100 people in the line.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, I'm not going to wait in line. I want to figure out where I get this ticket because they all had tickets already. So I went up to another guy and I asked him, I said, oh, can I get a ticket for these figures? And he said, oh, we're all gone for the day. So apparently they only gave out X amount for the day.
Yeah.
Because they had the 4 days of Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So they put a limit on each day.
They don't want to lose all their stock the first 2 days or whatever.
Right. So unfortunately I couldn't get it because I had to work that weekend, so I was only able to go for the 1 day.
Yeah.
So the only way I'm going to get it now is eBay.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out too. I would like to pick up those two. I did pick up, to get back to those small figures there. I did
the reactions?
The reactions. I picked up a Back to the Future set.
An entire set.
Well, you picked up for me, Marty and Doc Brown.
Right, yes.
And then Mike, who works at the game store, just picked up George McFly and Biff over the weekend. So there's just 4 in the set of that one.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the reaction ones, too, is I randomly went into Toys R Us one day, saw them on the shelves, and that was the first time I'd ever seen them. I never saw them. At that point, I wasn't keeping up on Funko or anything like that. But when I saw them in Toys R Us, I was shocked. I was like,
what is this?
I need to call Russ because Russ loves Back to the Future. And so what I found really cool about it, too, is they also have Firefly. They have Alien. They have, I think it was Escape from New York.
Okay.
So I found these on the shelf, and they must have just put them on because some of them were actually like laying down and didn't even have the hole punched.
Oh, okay, yeah, so they're like pristine.
They're pristine. They just came out of the box and they weren't even on the rack yet. So those are the ones that I picked up. And, being a collector, I know that, if the hole's not punched, it's worth a little bit more, or not worth a little bit more, but you can get a little bit more for it. I always say to everybody, and I go on message boards all the time, like doing, I'm part of a Ninja Turtle message board of, trading and selling.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting about that is people are constantly talking about, and it bothers me, and I don't know why it bothers me, but it does. Is people are just talking about, hey, I just got this figure. What's it worth?
Okay.
And like when somebody says that to me, the only thing that I can come up with as an answer is it's worth what someone else will buy it for.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Because you already have it. What are you going to do with it? It's worth nothing monetarily if you're not going to sell it.
Right.
Or trade it or whatever. So now, for me, when I'm collecting, I have a lot of stuff for nostalgic reasons. I don't really have a whole much resale value in my mind when I'm buying it. You know, I'm buying it because it's something that interests me. You know, I'm not going to go out and buy something that's like, you know, $200 or $300 just to resell because I get kind of attached to things and I like to have that collection for myself. And the reason I go out and get it is because it interests me.
Yeah.
I'm not wheeling and dealing, you know, just to make some money off of it.
Right.
So when anybody says, what's this worth? I get upset, I get angry, I get frustrated, and I just say it back to them. It's worth what somebody else will pay for it. If you're going to hold on to it, it's worth your nostalgic, you know, reasons.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's worth zero. It's worth $0. 0 cents. So, I don't know. I mean, you said you're collecting some of the NECA. Now, you have quite a bit of Back to the Future stuff, though.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to toys and stuff like that, I picked up those Pop Vinyl toys. And then when I went to Universal Studios in Florida, they still had the Back to the Future ride there. And I ended up picking up a few DeLorean replicas, like a model DeLorean, a couple keychains and this and that.
Would you say that we should have a little battle here? Would you say that the DeLorean is your favorite on-screen movie car?
Yeah, I'd probably have to say probably the one in Back to the Future 2, with the extra stuff on Mr. Fusion.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And all that.
Mm-hmm.
And the hover conversion and all that. I have to say that's my favorite.
Out of any movie series, that would be your go-to.
Yeah. I mean, Ecto 1 is really sweet car as well.
See, Ecto 1 is mine.
Yeah.
Like, nothing beats Ecto 1. I mean, Ecto 1, and then I think it was it the second one? They just added a little bit to it.
Yeah.
But I have the Ecto 1, the original.
I mean, eventually I would like to own a DeLorean down the road.
And they're not that expensive. I looked into it. You can get one for $2,000 or $3,000.
So
you just got to know how to use manual.
Yeah, well, I mean, my car is manual now, so that's no problem there. But I mean, me getting it, then that means I may get it for $2,000, $3,000, but then I'm going to sink so much more into it, making it closer to the Back to the Future car.
But I mean, I'll tell you, I would love to get a DeLorean as well. But I don't know. And the fact that it's only, you know, it's not as valuable as you would think it would be. You know, just because I would think it'd be more value just because, you know,
I mean, they obviously sold more that year that Back to the Future came out.
Right.
But
I mean, I think
the only people buying them now are people that are Back to the Future fans.
Right, absolutely. So, but yeah, I would say that between those two cars, you would definitely take the DeLorean.
Yeah. I mean, I just love the gold wing doors that come up.
Yep.
I would always have like a fog machine ready so when I open the doors.
Nice. That's awesome.
But I mean, I would like to get a lot more Back to the Future stuff. I mean, I made a prop replica of the flux capacitor.
Yeah, I remember that.
I made a few.
You also have a hoverboard.
I made a hoverboard.
Yep. Now you have your own custom company.
Yeah, I mean it's called Power Up Customs. It's just me pretty much doing prop replicas, custom consoles, and all that. I just figured I was doing so much of it. Why don't I get a name for it? So Power Up Customs. It has its own Facebook page and all that.
Well, go ahead, plug it. What is it?
Yeah, it's just facebook.com/PowerUpCustoms. CUSTOM. S Customs.
So there's an S at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I got to make another flux capacitor for myself because the ones I made, I I gave one to a friend. I made one for one of my bosses, and I sold one on Etsy. So they're really cool. But I definitely would like to try to get a pair of shoes.
Oh yeah,
they released,
yeah.
but they're going for like so much money just because the only way you can get them, it was at a charity event, so people were bidding on them and spending like thousands of dollars because it all went to charity, and it could be like.
Did you find them on eBay?
You could, but they're definitely a couple $100, like $600 or so.
So they spent over $1,000.
Well, on some people, I mean,
oh, okay.
bigger celebrities, hey, 5,000 or whatever.
Oh, okay, because it went to
Someone had brought in a pair actually on Pawn Stars, the show.
Oh, okay.
And Chun Li
I've never seen that.
There is very knowledgeable of shoes.
Okay.
He has a very shoe collection.
Nice.
And some guy was like, he was looking to get big bang for it, and Chun Li was kind of like, they're not worth a whole lot because of people. It was a charitable event. You can tax right off of it.
Right.
So he said if these were some Jordans Air Ones, you're talking
absolutely,
$1,000 or this and that. But so maybe I'll try to delve into making my own pair. Might be easier because I'm just gonna have it displayed and maybe wear it to a couple conventions or something like that.
Nice.
I was looking up online to get one of the jackets that dry, the self-drying jackets.
They make those?
Yeah, or even the hat would be cool. The color hat.
You know what? And the funny story is, I actually have the hat.
Okay.
I found it at a Comic-Con. It's the multicolor one, so it changes color. So those are very cool. I think I found it for like $20.
Nice.
And as soon as I saw it, I was with Becky, my fiance, and we went to. I think I found it at Rhode Island Comic-Con. I mean, they have them all over the place, but it was the first time I had ever seen it.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't know that they produced them and everything. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, gotta have it.
Nice.
I mean, how do you pass that up?
Yeah.
It's literally looks like it was taken right out of the movie. But the Back to the Future Hot Toys.
Oh yes, I did see those
incredible.
coming out.
And if you guys aren't familiar with Hot Toys, they're from Sideshow Collectibles. They're called Hot Toys, and they're super realistic toys. Now, these aren't the kind of action figures you buy and you play with. These are for grown-ups. These are
put in glass cases.
You put in glass, yes, and they're not cheap either.
They're absolutely not. No.
They have a Marty McFly that's coming out, and I think it goes for about $200. But they're also making a DeLorean, and that goes for $700.
Yeah, it looks pretty big. I have one that sits on a nice stand that's probably about 12 inches, 14 inches, I say. This one looks maybe a little bit bigger. It's probably about a 20-inch scale.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it is the figures are to scale as well. So if you were to put the Marty figure next to the DeLorean, he's the height he should be to the DeLorean.
Yeah.
So he's over it. And if you go onto their website, you can actually see
side-by-side comparisons.
Well, not only that, but they actually did poses. These are also fully posable.
Oh, okay.
They have different accessories. So
he came with the skateboard.
He comes with the hoverboard. He comes with the
camera.
The camera.
Yeah.
So, but what they did was they actually posed him with the DeLorean, like the movie poster.
Oh, okay.
So you can actually see it's to scale based on that. So I thought that was really cool. So it looks like we're close to about over an hour here, and I think we're going to cut this one a little bit short just because it's our first one. We're kind of getting our bearings straight, seeing what works, what doesn't work. We'd love for feedback.
Yeah.
If you guys have suggestions or topics you want us to talk about, whether it's gaming, comics, or toy related, or just anything happening in pop culture. Comic related also goes to movies and things like that.
They all play off each other.
Yeah, so even if you want to talk about movies or things like that, we'll probably touch base on that as well. But yeah, we have our Facebook page, we have our Instagram, we have a Twitter. Twitter's not very active right now, but we'll get there. Eventually, we'll do a YouTube page.
Yeah.
I know right now, Russ and I are working on my game room. I have a home office that I have all my toys in, and I think it's time to kind of convert it into a display room and retro game place to sit concentrate and play and even do these podcasts. So we're working on that. So we'll probably going to do a couple of videos of just the process of it. Just for fun. So check us out, 8-Bit Geekdom on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and soon YouTube. And do you have anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Nope.
Man of many words. So, all right, well, we're signing off, and we'll see you next time on the 8-Bit Geekdom podcast.
Talk to you later.
Thanks.